Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I thought today we could have a little chat about all the books I read last month in November. So last month I was in a bit of a reading slump, and I'm not even sure if you can call it a slump because it wasn't like I wasn't enjoying the books I was reading. I just wasn't in the mood to read. So the idea of picking up a book just didn't appeal to me. So I didn't read as many as I have previous months, but I did read 7 books total in the month of November. 3 were, is that right? 3 were romances, 2 were fantasy, 1 was a mystery / thriller, and another was a memoir. The first book I read was Love Light Farms by B.K. Borison. I was just really in the mood for a Christmassy book, and I'm actually sad that I read this book first because I liked it so much, and now every other holiday fluff romance book I'm comparing to this. This one I rated 4 stars on Goodreads, but I think like actual ratings I would probably give it like 4.25, 4.5, because I really enjoyed it in the moment. I don't think I've really been thinking about it much since, but it did kind of set the standard for everything I wanted from a holiday rom-com book. Who'd have thought? This is the first holiday rom-com book I think I've ever read. I honestly didn't even realize that was a genre until this year. And so now every other book, I just have not liked it because it's not this book. This book was so cute. It had me giggling, kicking my feet. I normally don't love Friends to Lovers, but this one, I loved it. The characters didn't annoy me, which is hard to do sometimes in like these kind of cheesy fluff books. And I'm not saying fluff in a bad way. There's a time and place for Love Light Farms, and that is any holiday season. But it's not like a very deep, hard to understand intellectual book, which is one of the reasons why I enjoyed it so much, because that's what I was in the mood for. But normally with these types of books, I end up not liking the characters, or I just find it really hokey. Like I just read, I think The Christmas Fix by Lucy Score, and it kind of gave me the ick at times because the characters were just very cheesy and it felt a little two-dimensional, but these were like what you want from like a Hallmark type romance. So it's really good. If you haven't read it, which I'm sure you have because I feel like everyone has read this book, read it after you've finished all of your other holiday romances, because you're not going to want to pick up another holiday romance after this one. This one has fantastic. The next book that I read was the long-awaited for Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. It was okay. I think I don't think. When I read Fourth Wing, I went into it with pretty low expectations. I knew it was popular. I knew that people were really loving it, which is the only reason why I really picked it up, but I wasn't necessarily drawn to the idea of what the book was about. I wasn't really in the mood for it, but I ended up loving it. I tell people all the time, it's not a good book, but it's a fun book. You know, there are moments where the writing is maybe not the best, where the characters are a little bit flat or unrealistic. There's not a lot of development of the characters, but it is a fun book. The storyline is fun. I was invested. I love dragons. I've always loved dragons, and I love them even more. But I think that's one of the reasons why I liked Fourth Wing as much as I did, because I went into it not really expecting to love it. and I ended up really enjoying it. So I think Iron Flame got built up in my mind to have the same level of like jaw-dropping moments. And there were moments where my jaw was dropped. But then there were moments where I was bored and I was confused. And I just felt like the whole what's her name? What's the main character's name? Violet. I don't know why I forgot that. I feel like the whole relationship with Violet and Xaden got a little boring about 50% through. I know some people loved it. If you loved it, I'm so happy for you. I'm glad that this lived up to the hype. For me personally, I didn't enjoy it. It was all the things I didn't like about the first book, but none of the excitement that came with the first book. So I can't imagine like 5 more books like this. That's a lot of material for like really nothing to happen. But I've heard mixed reviews on this too, so I think a lot of people feel a little conflicted about it, which makes me feel a little better, honestly. But definitely, if you read Fourth Wing and you have not read Iron Flame, definitely read it. It's not a bad book. I just didn't like it as much as the first one. I think I gave this 3 stars on Goodreads, and I stand by it. I liked it, I didn't love it. The next book I read was Flawless by Elsie Silver, and I read that on Kindle Unlimited. And I'm glad that I did not pay any money to read that book because I did not like it. I know this is a popular series, and again, I think maybe I just built it up too much in my head that it was gonna be just this beautiful love story, and it wasn't, in my opinion. I didn't like it. I gave it 2 stars. I don't really have any thoughts about it besides I didn't like it. I feel like I'm being really harsh back to back. I didn't mean for it to come across harsh. If you like it, I'm so happy for you. Please read it more. It's free on Kindle Unlimited. The next book I read was Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig, which is the second book in the One Dark Window series duology thing. I ate this up. I loved this. I liked this more than the first. And I liked the first. But I really liked this. I felt like we finally got into the storyline. We finally got into the plot. I was like on the edge of my seat at times. I didn't know what would happen. I loved this type of world building. I thought that she really like stepped into the pacing of the story really well in the second book. And you got to know the side characters more, and I actually started to like root for the side characters in a way that I normally don't. Like when we deviate from the main plot in a book into some side plot, I don't like that. But this time I wanted more of the side plot, and it was great because the side plot really does weave into the main plot so well. This one, it was so good. The ending was good. I was sad it was over. Like I was bummed that this is the last book. It's a good ending. It resolves everything. I felt like happy with how everything ended. But if Rachel Gillig came out with a 3rd book in this world, I would be happy. I would be very happy about that. Maybe like a prequel following The Nightmare. That would be great. I would really like that. So on Goodreads, I gave this book a 4 stars. I think in like actuality, it'd be closer to like a 4.75. It just didn't give me that 5-star feeling that I get from other books. I haven't necessarily been thinking about it, but I do heavily recommend this book. If you want just a quick little fantasy read, it's only 2 books, not very hard to read, pretty fast paced. I recommend this if you're in the mood for something more gothic. All right, next we have The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. This premise, it's so fun. It's where the guy has to hire the girl to be his bodyguard, but he doesn't want a bodyguard, but she still has to guard him. And it was so much fun. I love that premise. You don't always get that kind of like reversal of roles. Normally it's the girl that needs protecting, and the guy's the one that provides it. But this time it was switched. It was cute. It wasn't really like speaking to me in a way that like maybe Emily Henry's books would. But it was good. I gave it 3 stars. I don't really have a whole lot of thoughts about it. There were moments where the dialogue just like didn't make sense, where like the main male character Jack, like the way he reacted, or like the way he acted in general, I was kind of like, what? But it was still good. If you like Miss Congeniality type vibes, this is a great book for you. I liked it, but I didn't love it. All right, next we have Five Survive by Holly Jackson. I have not read anything by her before. This is the very first Holly Jackson book I have ever read. And I ate it up. I loved this book. There was one point where I had to stop reading because I was home alone at night and I got scared and I had to wait till Jackson came back so I could finish. Like, cause I was getting so worked up. It was so good. I will say that with most books like this, where it's like a person is, I don't even know how to explain it. It's realistic, but reality is not as bad as what I can imagine. You know, like it's a guy trying to kill these kids. And like once you know it, once you have kind of lost out on that suspense, it didn't grip me as much, but it was so good. I think it's YA, but I don't think it really read like it was YA. The characters were very realistic. The relationships were interesting. I don't want to say too much because like I don't want to give it away, but I thought it was really good. I wanted more at the ending because I wanted to know like about what happens with one of the characters, and I can't really say anything else besides that. Like that's all I can say. But I really liked this book. I definitely want to read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I have it on the Kindle, but I feel like I might need to buy like a paperback. Because I just feel like it would read better, like if I was holding it in my hands. You know how like some books are like, they're fine on the Kindle. Some books need to be a paperback. Some books need to be a hardcover. You know what I mean? Like there's just like different books are best in certain formats. So maybe I'll read that soon, because Holly Jackson, for my first book, wow, this was fun. I liked this. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. Real life, 4.5, I think. Because again, just like me personally, endings are always kind of like a letdown. Like once you realize who's doing the bad thing and why they're doing it, it's always kind of like, no, okay, like the suspense is gone, you know. But it was still, good. All right, the 7th and last book that I read in the month of November. I don't have a hard copy because I read it on the Kindle, but it is Down the Drain by Julia Fox. And if you had asked me a year ago if I would be reading a book by Julia Fox willingly and eating it up every single page, I would have said no way. I would have said, you're lying, you're crazy, absolutely not. I would have been like, Julia Fox? Kanye's girlfriend? What? Let me just say, once I finish this book, in my mind, I think of Kanye now as Julia Fox's ex. It was giving main character. It was wild. I did not realize that her life was so... I'm not always a big memoir fan. I mean, real life can never be that interesting, you know what I mean? Her life was interesting. It was so good. I was highlighting parts. She writes so eloquently, and the way that she writes just really like drags you in. You feel like someone is telling you a story. And she narrates the audiobook. So if you are like an audiobook person and you want Julia Fox to read it to you, do it, because she did such a good job at that too. I'm convinced that there's nothing Julia Fox can't do well. I'm a Julia Fox fan now. And I did not think I would like it. I went into it with like not low expectations. I mean, I heard good things about the book. So like I knew it was going to be a good memoir. I just didn't know I would like it so much since it's a memoir. It really was just like, it was so good. Like at one point, like at the beginning of the book, she goes through her life chronologically, and she talks about growing up in New York City with her father, and how her father and her had kind of a strained relationship, especially when she was a child. And I think now that she's a mother, she's been able to like kind of overcome some of that trauma, and she's able to have a relationship with her father. But she writes things like, my hero is turning out to be nothing more than just another flawed human being. I'm forced to face the unsettling reality that the people who are supposed to protect us are sometimes the same people we need protection from. It's so good. Like, she closes out the book with a quote that says, I was ridiculed for being different and for doing whatever I had to do to survive, but now everyone is wearing latex. Everyone is wearing latex. It's iconic. That's like, it's so good. It really was just like such a good book of her overcoming obstacles in her life, of her moving past her addiction and getting her life together for her son and breaking these generational trauma bonds. And it was just, it was good. So if you're looking for a fun, entertaining, fast-paced memoir about someone that you didn't expect to love so much, I really recommend Down the Drain by Julia Fox. 5 stars all around. So those are all of the books that I read in the month of November. Some of them were not so great. Some of them were fantastic. I'd love to know what books you read last month that really stuck out to you. So feel free to leave a comment down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.